and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2023-24 season. My name is Dan, and today it is my Gameweek 24 team selection video where I think I'm pretty confident about my transfers as well as my chip strategy moving forward. So I'm going to explain all of that today. If you enjoy it, make sure you do drop a like. Do subscribe if you want more FPL content. Let's get started. So first of all, very pleased to announce that my Gameweek 23 scores were, pretty good indeed. 93 points, which is very, very nice indeed. Doing a little bit better than the maybe average on captaincy going for Palmer instead of Haaland, although that vice captain on Watkins is just a case of what could have been. But regardless, no complaints here because I've essentially halved my rank from outside the top 300k to now inside the top 200k quite comfortably. So we are turning this season around. Very, very pleased to say that, and hopefully we can push on from here with a really, really nice chip strategy moving forward, which I think I pretty much nailed. So guys, very nice game week 23. This is very positive. Lots of positive signs from a lot of the players that I have, and we need to think about what we're going to do moving forward, and there will be transfers. So for game week 24, I've got one free transfer and 1.4 million in the bank. Some of you may have noticed I don't have any Liverpool players, so that's going to be a big topic of discussion. But first of all, let's have a look at what we've got right now. So first of all, Dubravka against Nottingham Forest. It's a pretty decent fixture. Forest aren't a team that score too many goals typically, but Newcastle, on the other hand, are just doing so poorly defensively, particularly when they're away from home. So am I expecting a clean sheet here? I'm never expecting a clean sheet from Newcastle anymore, but with Dubravka, at least you may be getting a couple of save points there. That is what he does. In the defence, we've got Kieran Trippier, 6.8 million. He is a little bit expensive, but again, no clean sheets necessarily. But what we can't fault Newcastle on is their attack. And with no Gordon in the team, you wonder if Trippier might be more involved in some of the attacking impetus in this Newcastle team. Obviously, he's proven over the last couple of games that he is a player capable of getting attacking returns. Maybe been missing for a couple of weeks before that, but now he seems to be back, ready to go again. And Forest, decent fixture. We've got Bournemouth after that. That's not so bad either. I think the next couple of fixtures actually could be okay for Trippier. After that, we've got Pedro Porro. He's got Brighton at home. No João Pedro for Brighton. He has been struck down with an injury, unfortunately. So it's going to be hopefully a little bit of a better opportunity than most game weeks for Spurs to get a clean sheet. But again, I've got a couple of defensive players here. Newcastle, Spurs, you know, they're just not good defenses. So you are really relying on attacking returns. And with Pedro Porro, I think his attacking numbers are dropping a little bit. We're not seeing him get the attacking returns that we want from him at the moment. And I think part of that is Maddison back on set pieces. That's a big thing. But yeah, Pedro Porro is a difficult one. I'm not sure he provides value for money anymore at 5.9 million. Gabriel is my final defender, and at 5 million, he is a value for money player. Now, West Ham is not the greatest fixture. I think out of my defensive players, Gabriel has the worst fixture, but he also plays for by far the best defense. And any game in the whole season, you can definitely consider that Arsenal have a chance of a clean sheet. So hopefully, they are going to be able to do that this game week, and Gabriel can come in with the returns. Always an attacking threat from those set pieces as well. So, you know, Gabriel, a solid option indeed. In midfield, we've got Kevin De Bruyne against Everton at home. I think he could really, really be a useful player against a slightly more defensive team in Everton because it allows De Bruyne to play much further up the pitch and maybe have more control over those final attacking moments, getting in those right areas, drifting around, free roaming as he often does. And, you know, whether that's on set pieces, whether that's putting in crosses or those key passes that are really going to be key to break down the Everton defence. That is what De Bruyne is going to be all about this game week. So I'm looking forward to what he can produce this game week. And then we've got the double next week. After that, we've got Saka against West Ham. I'm not sure if this is a good or a bad fixture, really, but Saka's underlying numbers have been phenomenal recently. He really is topping the charts over the past 5-6 game weeks for underlying numbers. Now, it helps that there's no Salah and Haaland and Son for him to compete with for the title of the best attacking numbers in the Premier League at the moment, but he's still providing them, and he's a player who is in good form, scoring goals in the last couple of games, and he's a player who is on penalties as well. So with Arsenal with some actually pretty decent fixtures from an attacking point of view coming up, I wonder if he really could make a difference to those of us who are willing to stick with him, because I know a lot of people are moving Saka on or maybe sacrificing him because of the amount of money he costs. I do still have a lot of faith in Saka, to be fair. Next up, Foden, another player who is going to be very key in terms of breaking down this Everton defence. We saw last game against Brentford that Foden was playing super, super close to the striker. He was really playing as a second striker role, despite the fact that he was, in theory, on the wing, but it didn't feel like he was on the wing at all. So I'm really hoping with De Bruyne and Haaland, now Foden in there as well, who is a minutes monster at the moment. He's playing every minute for Manchester City at the moment. Super nailed on player at the moment by Man City terms anyway. But it's definitely a player who is going to be doing more bits over the next couple of games. We've got some good fixtures coming up for him. And yeah, I definitely do feel like he could be a player who, you know, again, like he did last game week, make the difference. Go on those little runs, you know, making those little key technical dribbles or little passes here and there that really can make up for a big FPL score like we did see last game week. I think he is, again, like De Bruyne, going to be very, very key this game week in terms of breaking down this defensive Everton team. And I do think Man City are probably odds on to score a couple of goals in this game. Next up, Cole Palmer. Now, we saw in the FA Cup, Cole Palmer was essentially playing as a striker. Yeah, slightly different formation for Chelsea, which might mean a change in fortunes for them. That Aston Villa game was the best I've seen Chelsea play in a long time, and that was in part due to the formation change. So Palmer playing as what is essentially a striker and on penalties against a Crystal Palace team that is suffering a little bit, be that through injuries or just poor form. This is a really good opportunity for Cole Palmer. I know some people will be in a kind of a benching dilemma, may choose to bench Palmer. All I can say is do so at your own risk. You're benching a player who is playing for a team in a new system where he's playing as a striker. He's already been the key player for Chelsea, and he's also on penalties against an out-of-form and injury-riddled team. This is good stuff for Palmer indeed, even though after this game week, things don't look so hot for him. And after that, we've got Brennan Johnson in midfield, who I'm kind of forced to play at this moment, even though I don't even think he's going to start the next game. You know, we're going to have Heung-min Son back either this game week or next game week maybe. I'm not quite convinced Son is going to start in game week 24, but there's definitely a chance, and he might start to eat into the minutes of some other of these Spurs attackers, and Johnson might find himself sort of as the fifth or sixth choice attacker, really, in this Spurs team, which is no good. He's going to be benched a lot, and I think maybe with Richarlison's good form, Werner coming into the team on big wages, big loan fee, and Son returning, Maddison's back, Kulusevski's always going to be around there. There's just so much telling me that Johnson is just not a good FPL option anymore, and I am going to have to sell him. Up front, we've got Erling Haaland. He plays against Everton at home again. Loads of Man City players. That's really nice to say that I've got triple Man City attack right now with the this good fixture, double game week after that, and decent fixture against Bournemouth after that as well. It's good stuff. It really is good stuff. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what Haaland can produce. Definitely a captain option for this game week as well. Can he find himself in the form that he showed previously prior to his injury, or is he going to take another game or so to get back into the full swing of things? I'm not 100% sure, but he's certainly going to be a player who you back in any game week. I actually do think that this game week is more a game that suits maybe a De Bruyne and a Foden more so than a Haaland, but you can never doubt Haaland, and you never should. And finally up front, we've got Ollie Watkins coming off the back of a big haul in game week 23, but this game is against Manchester United, who are finding their feet a little bit more at the moment, and it could be a little bit tougher for Aston Villa, particularly off the back of that loss against Chelsea. So I do wonder whether Watkins can be as impactful this game week as maybe he was last game week. It's an interesting one. Ollie Watkins still really overperforming on his numbers at the moment, particularly with those assists. I think he's only got around 1 expected assist when he's actually made 5 assists. So his teammates are obviously converting chances that he's creating, but kind of low quality chances that he's creating. So can that continue against this Manchester United side? I'm not too sure, but he's certainly a player you would want to own for the long term. So a little bit of debate to be had there around Watkins and whether you should keep him or sell him. Now, on my bench, guys, I've got Turner against Newcastle. He doesn't even play anymore. Estupinian against Spurs, not expecting a clean sheet there. Spurs will always score goals. It's just what they do. We've got Charlie Taylor. Not sure if he's going to be available, but he's against Liverpool anyway. And João Pedro, who I got the news literally today that he has got a hamstring injury. He's going to be out for this game week at the absolute minimum. He could see himself out for a couple of weeks, really, which is really, really disappointing. He is a player that I wanted to own. I think the small benefit is that he solves a benching headache because after making transfers, you know, I'll already tell you guys, Brennan Johnson's got to go. So if Brennan Johnson's going out of my team, then I'm going to have to bench one of my kind of attackers, and João Pedro being injured, I guess, kind of solves that. So maybe a blessing in disguise for me, because I think I would have wanted to play João Pedro against Spurs, but at the same time, it's like seeing what he did last time he played Spurs. You know, it was 2 goals and an assist the last time he played a couple of weeks ago. I wanted that again, and it's not going to happen. So I have big decisions to make around the likes of João Pedro and Brennan Johnson in particular. Looking at the players I'd be willing to sell, and my players that I'd be willing to sell kind of fall into two categories, I guess. So first of all, we've got players who I actually do need to remove from my team, and that's João Pedro because of that injury, and Brennan Johnson because, you know, he's probably not going to get much game time moving forward. Outside of that, we've got a lot of cash cow type players, and those are players like Trippier, Saka, and Watkins, who, although I do like them, and ideally I would like to keep them, unfortunately, in FPL, part of the challenge is that you do have to work within a budget, and you can't have everyone, and I'm kind of in a difficult situation whereby I want those expensive Liverpool players, but I can't really afford them just by selling the likes of João Pedro and Johnson. I might have to make a big sacrifice elsewhere, and that might have to be someone like Trippier, Saka, or Watkins in order to do that, even though all of them kind of am backing over the next several game weeks. Pedro Porro is another player I'd be willing to sacrifice with his blank in a few game weeks time, and obviously my bench players, Estupinian, Taylor, Turner even, I'd be willing to sell these players if push came to shove, but the real priorities right now are getting rid of João Pedro and Brennan Johnson. So with that in mind, we need to have a look at the transfer targets. I've already mentioned Liverpool players, but there are a few others. So for goalkeepers, Alisson and Kaminsky are definitely players that stand out to me at the moment. I think I prefer Alisson, but both of these players have the difficult situation of blanking in game week 26. So could I maybe move Turner to one of these goalkeepers, do that upgrade, possibly, and maybe that benefits me over the next couple of game weeks. But Kaminsky has a good fixture against Sheffield United this game week. But after that, the double game week, are we really expecting Luton to keep a clean sheet? They've been great in attack, but in defence, maybe not so much. For defenders, Van Dijk is standing out to me far more than Trent is. I actually think Trent is probably only going to play 1 out of 2 games in the double game week. I can see Conor Bradley coming back into the Liverpool side for that second game in the double game week against Luton. And obviously, Liverpool do have the League Cup final just a couple of days after that. So that's definitely something to consider. Is there going to be a bit of rotation? Which kind of players are likely to rotate? And you'd say that Trent is potentially a player who could rotate there. Van Dijk, however, nailed on. Going to play every game. Super great attacking threat from aerial threat from those set pieces, which I think could be good over, you know, the next couple of weeks because of the fixtures and the particular fixtures that he plays against. A lot of teams weak against those kind of set pieces, and maybe Van Dijk capitalises on that. So it would be a player I'd like to get. Doughty is obviously on the transfer targets list as well as a very, very attacking Luton defender who creates a lot of chances, as we know. For midfielders, we've got Diogo Jota, definitely a player I want to have in my team. Barkley's numbers are fantastic at the moment as well. And for forwards, Tony, with the double game week and the lack of blank game week in 26, is a very useful player for anyone right now, but is this the week to get him? Not really sure. Darwin is definitely a player I'm interested in. His underlying numbers are phenomenal, potentially on penalties. I think he's going to keep his penalties, and I think he could do some serious damage over the next 2 game weeks in particular, just because he is seemingly nailed on when he's fit. And I think he will be fit back into the Liverpool side and probably play the next 3 games in a row, which I think is pretty nice. Even from the bench, he's a player who can do some damage. So if he is a player who is, you know, constantly in the right areas, maybe got a bit unlucky with the amount of woodwork he has hit this season, can he actually start converting these chances? I think he can, and therefore he is very, very high on my transfer targets list. And finally, Adebayo, another Luton Town attacker with great underlying numbers at the moment. He's scoring for fun, even against the tough teams at the moment. So, yeah, that really benefits you when you look at game week 25, where Luton don't have the easiest double, Man United, and, you know, we've got Liverpool there as well. So could he do the damage even against the big teams? I mean, potentially there. Like, Luton are flying in attack, and Adebayo at this kind of price, in this kind of form, is definitely a player to consider. But again, particularly with these Liverpool and Luton players, I can't go in on them too hard because of game week 26 and the fact that they all blank. So I need to get some Luton, Liverpool players in. Maybe Liverpool players are the priority because they've got that higher ceiling over the next couple of game weeks, even though there might be a little bit of rotation risk between some of them. One more note on the transfer targets is a kind of a word on Salah. Now, Salah is set to return and start doing parts of training with the team from next week at the absolute earliest. So that rules him out for this game week. It probably rules him out for at least most of game week 25 as well. So can't see Salah playing too many minutes in game week 25. So the next 2 game weeks, really, I think Diogo Jota and Darwin are both going to be depended on quite heavily, whereby Salah may get some minutes by the time we get towards the end of game week 25. But again, Salah has got to be managed in preparation for the League Cup final as well. So I think Liverpool forwards at this point are a really, really good bet. I'm not too worried about Salah at this moment. I think just go for them, really, and I think that's probably what I'm going to do. So here are my options. First of all, I could ignore Liverpool and just bring in Adebayo for João Pedro, but it would just create a new benching headache for me for this game week. But it would be nice to get I guess a double game week player, but it's not the right double game week player. It's one of the right double game week players, but I want those Liverpool players, man. I really do. And the only way I can do that is by taking a hit, I believe, because one of João Pedro and Brennan Johnson has to go. And I've got two clear Liverpool players that I want to get in my team. So my first option is to do Saka. Sell Saka for a -4 in order to get double Liverpool. So it'd be Saka and João Pedro out and Darwin and Jota in. That works really, really well for a -4 there. However, Saka is not really a player I want to sell. Alternatively, I can sell Watkins, another player I don't really want to sell. And I'll sell Watkins and Johnson for Darwin and Jota. Now, I know some people will say, well, João Pedro is the obvious player to sell. Do it a base around Jota, around Pedro, sorry, just because he is the injured player. But Johnson, to me, is just as big of a problem. Now, João Pedro can recover from injury. Don't know how long it's going to take, but he can recover. Johnson, I think, for the rest of the season, is pretty much done as an FPL asset. So João Pedro, I'd actually be more inclined to keep. And, it's a case of Saka versus Watkins. Who would I rather have over the next 2 game weeks, really? And I think it's really, really close between them. But ultimately, Saka is the player who is in better form if you look at the underlying numbers. Obviously, Watkins is putting out more points just about than Saka recently. But Saka has much better underlying numbers, much better. And Saka is on penalties as well. So I think those 2 factors really sway me towards keeping Saka and selling Watkins. I have to sell one of them. I can't just do Johnson to Jota, for example. One of these cash cow players has to be sold if I want to get Jota into my team, if I want to get Darwin into my team. I'm not just going to do Watkins to Darwin because I need to sell one of Johnson or João Pedro. Can't afford to do João Pedro straight to Darwin. So yeah, it's not straightforward. Someone has to be sold. Something has to give. And it's going to be Saka or Watkins. It has to be one of them. But right now, I mean, I'll show you what I'm leaning towards. And by the way, guys, it would involve bringing back Saka or Watkins if for game week 26, either way. So it's a short-term absentee for either of these players, because I would be bringing them straight back in game week 26. So yeah, let's see what I'm doing. So there you go, guys. Let's load it up on the screen. Yes, we are going to go for the Watkins out move, bringing in Jota and Darwin. Goodbye, Brennan Johnson. And we'll keep João Pedro just for this moment. And looking at my team now, it looks fantastic. There's no benching headache anymore for me with João Pedro with his injury straight on the bench. Maybe he can recover in a couple of game weeks' time. Maybe not. I guess that remains to be seen. And yeah, the team looks very, very strong now with the addition of these 2 Liverpool players at home against Burnley with that really high ceiling. And speaking of the high ceiling, I want to captain one of these Liverpool players as well. So right now, I'm thinking captain Diogo Jota. He is the player who excites me most this game week. And the vice captain on Erling Haaland. Maybe a slightly more safe option, but I want the big points. I want the huge upside. And I think Diogo Jota, with his clean sheet points, with his extra points for a goal, with the probably a higher ceiling for goals in this game, I back it more. And I actually think, if you could say that Liverpool's goals will be spread at the moment, I think Man City are in this same situation at the moment whilst Haaland finds his form. I think both teams are going to have their goals spread, but I think Liverpool will score more goals. And I think Diogo Jota gets more points for those goals, for the clean sheet, etc., etc. So, yes, Jota is my guy. He's going to be my captain, more than likely, pending a last-minute change of mind, which we'll cover, I guess, in the deadline stream. So, guys, with that said, I want to share with you a little bit more about my chip strategy and plan moving forward, because I already mentioned that, even if I sold Saka or Watkins, I would be looking to bring them back in the very near future, and I want to show you how I'm going to be doing that. So we are back on the Fantasy Football Hub My Team tool, the best tool for planning your team moving forward. It really is a super useful tool. I'm going to be showing you it today, as I always do, but it's really important this week because I need to show you future plans as well. So guys, make sure you check it out. Link at the top of the description if you want to have a look at Fantasy Football Hub's amazing array of tools. They are so useful. I couldn't live without them personally. So I'm going to show you what I've got going on. So with those 2 transfers booked in, I'm going to show you how I would move forward with this team, because obviously we've got Game Week 25 next, so this would be my team for Game Week 25. Looks really strong. We've got triple City and double Liverpool for the double game week. Maybe some of you guys have a few more double game week players than me, but I think 5 is absolutely fine for this moment, and I think it's particularly fine because this game week I wouldn't need a transfer at all. I would expect João Pedro to still be injured for this game week, but moving on to Game Week 26, the great thing is I can make another 2 transfers because I would have rolled my Game Week 25 transfer, used my 2 transfers to remove those Liverpool players all over again. So taking advantage of 3 great fixtures for Liverpool and then remove them again, have Watkins back in my team and replace Jota with He-Chan as well. And suddenly my Gameweek26 team looks really good as well. Sheffield United at home for He-Chan and Nottingham Forest at home for Watkins. So this will be a really, really nice Gameweek26 team. No hits needed beyond Gameweek24. The one thing is, we've got Charlie Taylor playing, hoping he's fit by this point, and João Pedro would be on the bench, providing he is still injured. And that's the one thing that is troubling me a bit about João Pedro, because I had planned initially to play him for Gameweek26, so it would be João Pedro playing instead of Taylor. I guess if Pedro is available, then actually my Gameweek26 team looks pretty strong. The only weakness really is Dubravka and Trippier playing away against Arsenal. Expect them to concede in that game, but you know, you can't have it perfect every week, I guess. But that is a big problem of mine with that double Newcastle defense. It's not really something that I love, but it's kind of what I'm stuck with at the moment, unfortunately. Moving on into game week 27, I'd have 1 free transfer to use, and not really sure what I would use it on, to be fair. I mean, we could maybe at this point do a De Bruyne to Son, a 1-week punt on that, and after that, after game week 27, in game week 28, I plan on using my wild card, so we can resolve all of the problems that I have. No more double Newcastle defense. We can remove all of my players who are blanking in Game Week 29, or at least a lot of them. And yeah, set up for blank Game Week 29, and yeah, things will look very, very nice indeed. So yes, I am planning a chip strategy that is essentially the chip strategy that I spoke about in yesterday's video, last night's video. Do make sure you go and check out that video from that I uploaded last night, because it outlines perfectly what my chip strategy is with the wildcard in Game Week 28, and you're going to see just how strong it is, just how powerful it is. And yeah, I'm really, really confident now that that strategy is going to work, because it means that I get to wildcard fairly soon and resolve a lot of the problems that I have, but I'm still good for double Game Week 25. I'm still covered for Game Week 26. I think for Game Week 27, I can have a reasonably strong team as well, obviously with exception of the the Newcastle players maybe in 26, maybe 27 to a degree as well. But yeah, I think everyone's going to struggle in game week 26 with all of the blanks in that game week, and it'll just be nice to cover it with 11 players, to be fair, even if some of them are Newcastle against Arsenal. So guys, I am increasingly confident that we're going to finish this season really, really well. Everything is kind of straight in my mind now of where I want to take my team for the rest of the season, and I'm really, really excited and ready to go. But guys, do make sure you check out my chip strategy video from yesterday. It is really going to help you no matter what chip strategy you are planning on, because we go through some other options as well. But I really want to outline that what I am doing is what I believe to be the best chip strategy for FPL this year, and I think it's going to absolutely dominate the opposition. So really excited to really get started with it and cracking on. But it starts with this game week and next game week. This is where it starts with the double game weeks against for Liverpool and Man City. This is going to be great fun. I love this part of the FPL season. I really, really do. Thanks, guys, for watching. Make sure you drop a like. Do subscribe if you are new around here. Check out Fantasy Football Hub using the link in the description if you want to check out the My Team tool that is really useful for planning your future transfers and future game weeks. We have got a couple more designs on fan prints as well at the moment. So, yeah, fanprints.uk. If you want to check out some of our football and FPL-related products, do go check them out as well. Link in the description. And aside from that, guys, I will see you tomorrow for the big stream for Game Week 24. I can't wait. And I will see you later, mates. Bye-bye.